Welcome to Boy Time Podcast. We're gonna get litty time, yeah. Oh, it's your Boy Time Podcast. Coming in with the slam dunk of a theme song.
Hi ho ho, it's me, Carol Burnett, back at it again with a new episode of the Boy Time Podcast. And as always, I'm joined by Babby. Paul was a little tired today, so not going to be in the podcast this week.
Played too much scary game with him last night.
We
Too
did.
much of an overload for him.
We played some Phasmophobia last night. I also played some Civilization with him today, and he asked me if I slept okay. And I'm like, it was not that scary.
I played with all my lights off, and I got off and just went right to bed.
Yeah,
So-
it was not scary at all. There
No.
was just a bunch of little goblins running around, and
Yeah.
one scary looking dude, but that was it. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. But this is going to be another short one, I think. I don't know. We might have a lot to talk about. We need to talk about the new 2 episodes of Stranger Things. We have both watched them, so we will be talking about the new part of Stranger Things. So if you have not watched the 4 hours of content that is the last 2 episodes of Stranger Things, I would implore you to do so before this podcast, because we will be talking about it. We are also going to be talking about season 5 of The Wire. We finally finished one of the most critically acclaimed shows of all time, and we are going to be talking about it. I guess season 5 and then the whole series at large after that. So we will be talking about that. I don't know how much music stuff we have to talk about.
Not a whole lot.
No, but I guess if you are just joining in now, and you maybe are gonna stop listening like halfway through before we get to the music section, Sufjan released 2 4th of July remixes, and I really like both of them.
Yeah, I wasn't ready for that gut punch, but it's fine.
Yeah, it's like the most depressing song on that record, and he just like, let's release 2 versions of it, and they're both like really good. I really like both of them.
Yeah, we'll talk about them in the music section, but yes, know
Yes.
that those are out.
Fully recommend.
Yes.
Also, listen to Carrie Ann Lowell if you haven't.
Yep.
If you're mentally ready for that, I suppose.
If you're stable,
Yes.
you
Or
won't be stable afterwards. But
it's one of those, at least to me, where the first time it didn't hit, where like I liked it, but like the depressing side of it didn't exactly hit. I wasn't looking at lyrics. And it sounds so nice. That's the thing. It's so deceiving. Sufjan's voice sounds like an angel. There's some really nice arrangements in there. It's nice acoustic stuff. And then the second time was when it was like, oh man.
I listened to the album for like years before, and then I lost like 2 people in 1 year, and then I listened to the album again. I'm like, this is the worst. Like, oh my god.
Yes. Yeah. It's probably one of the most depressing albums I've heard.
Yeah,
If not the most.
but it's sad, so good.
It's
It
sad,
feels
so good. Yeah. I listened to that record like every single day at the beginning of this year. So I guess that about says where my mental state was in the beginning of 2022.
Yes, sir.
But enough dawdling around. We do have some news to talk about. I guess we'll start with movie news. We only have one movie. Dune 2 has been delayed, unfortunately.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it was supposed to come out summer of next year, which was an impossible goal, if I might say.
Yeah.
Considering they have not started production. I believe the script is written, but I don't think they've started filming. Or if they have just started. So having the movie come out a year from now would be insane. They have delayed it to November 17th of next year. So a year and like 3 months. So, this is a little bit more realistic, except not at all, especially with how much special effects goes into Dune, especially if it's going to be like as good as it was in Dune 1. Because the special effects in Dune 1 are phenomenal. Like that was great stuff. So we will have to wait just a little bit longer. I'm not complaining. I think this is a good move, if I'm being honest. But the majority of the news we're going to be talking about this week is going to be show news. We have a lot of show news. Carol Burnett, the name I used at the beginning of this podcast, also one of the leading women in comedy. The Carol Burnett Show was around in the 60s and 70s, maybe. I don't know exactly when it was. But it was just announced that Carol Burnett is going to be in the last part of this Better Call Saul season.
Let's go.
Which is kind of crazy. She's super old. It would be like if Betty White was in it before she died. Yeah, she's 89. And
Okay.
She's going to be in Better Call Saul. So that'll be kind of cool. It'll be nice to see her. I was surprised. I think Bob Odenkirk was the one that announced that. And he was like, it was such an honor working with Carol Burnett in the last part of Better Call Saul. I'm like, that is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Bob Odenkirk and Carol Burnett together. It's like two distinct eras in my mind. But that'll be cool. We'll probably talk about that 2 weeks from now.
2 weeks, because they come out on Mondays and we watch them on Tuesdays on AMC Plus. Definitely not sponsored.
No, definitely not. Do not get AMC Plus.
Do not get AMC Plus.
Yeah, we'll talk about that when that happens. And I'll make note of when Carol Burnett shows up. In other show news, production of Succession Season 4 has begun.
Let's go.
That's awesome. Love to see it. Probably one of my favorite shows that is being made right now. It is so good. If you have not seen Succession, I know a lot of people wouldn't shut up about Succession Season 3 when that one was coming out. And if you were kind of like overwhelmed and like a contrarian about it, was like, oh, everyone likes that show, I'm not going to listen. You should probably watch it. It's very good.
Yeah, and don't have that mindset going forward for most things. Nobody likes that person.
That's true. But I am often that person. Like, I still have not watched The Boys, because I'll probably watch it once that dies down.
Yeah, I'm not a contrarian. I'm just really late to the party for everything that isn't music.
See, I'm a contrarian even when it comes to music. That's like my defining characteristic on the channel.
That's your stick.
That's my shtick,
Your
yeah.
shtick.
I'm the, what's that guy? What's that guy from American Idol? Simon Cowell.
Simon Cowell.
Yeah. And you're Randy.
I love Randy.
Yeah, who doesn't love Randy?
I think the show, because I think they took him out after a couple seasons.
Did they really? Why would they
think
do
so.
that?
I think Simon's the only like judge that like remained constant.
That's rough. I don't
Yeah.
like that. Oh yeah, because Lionel Richie's in it. Lionel Richie's in like everything now. Because wasn't he a judge on The Voice too?
I thought so.
So weird. When is George Clinton gonna be like a judge on The Masked Singer or something?
I don't know. That'd be interesting.
That would be so weird. If Michael Jackson was still alive, he'd be judging The Voice.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
But enough about that. And then in a little bit of news, I don't think I've talked about the Fallout TV show at all. But Amazon is making a Fallout TV show, and they finally announced who's going to be in it. Have you heard?
I have not.
Oh, okay. You're going to like this. It's Kyle MacLachlan.
Oh.
Yeah. They got a big player coming in. I hope he plays like the main character's dad who dies.
I hope he's just Agent Cooper, but he's in a boat and he's in the wasteland. And
He's in
it's
the
always just
wasteland.
freaking Nuka-Cola instead of coffee.
He goes to like a casino and he's like, hello.
Hello.
Hands down, the best thing David Lynch has ever done.
Absolutely.
That casino sequence continues
Comedic
to
gold.
make me laugh whenever I
gold.
think about it. If you are so inclined, just search Twin Peaks Season 3 casino scene. Phenomenal.
It's so weird because that season is so insanely weird, but I still remember like all of it, despite like not a lot happening for most of it.
Yeah, I do too. And I wasn't a very big fan of it, but there
And I
was
liked
like
it, but it was like a weird like.
it
It's like
was
a you're not supposed to enjoy this, but I'm entertained.
yes, and there was so much that happened, but it was so much of it was so different.
Yeah,
Like all that black and white like Arizona desert scene will be burned in my mind
amazing
forever.
episode. Amazing.
The same way that like the end of Eraserhead will be burned in my brain and the end of Mulholland Drive will be burned in my brain. I think he just has a quirk for coming up with like some of the weirdest stuff ever that it's impossible to forget it. Because
Yeah.
it's like, oh, well, I've never seen that before, but I have seen it in this one David Lynch movie that came out 50 years ago. But yeah, Kyle MacLachlan, Fallout TV show. I don't know if I'm gonna
Awesome.
watch it, but
I
I
really
guess we'll
love all
see.
the Fallout stories, so that could be interesting if they don't
Okay.
mess it up.
Yes, I don't know who's involved. I know it's Amazon, which
Yeah.
that
Which,
they have an all right track record. I
yeah,
think
they're not the worst.
they have the boys, they have Invincible, they have the Miss Maisel show that continues to win awards like every single year.
They have Lord of the Rings show too, don't they?
They do have that. It's going to be coming out in a couple months. So that's pretty cool. I should probably make a note because now it's getting a little extreme. If you can hear fireworks in the
Yeah.
distance, it is not July 4th as we are recording. It will be July 4th as this video comes out. But we recorded this in early July. And ever since 2020, fireworks have just started early. And I don't appreciate it.
Yeah, and my windows have zero soundproofing, so
Well, I haven't heard anything on your end, but
Okay, good.
people have been shooting them off
But I
in my
hear 'em,
neighborhood, so I can hear them. I don't know if it's getting picked up on the microphone. It might
I
not.
heard-
Okay, so maybe
just be warned.
just be warned. There might be. But let's move on to our discussions. I'm going to do a little mini discussion that is just me because I doubt that you've seen it. But I watched the Baymax show on Disney Plus because there was outrage. I don't know if you were familiar.
No, I am familiar with
Okay,
this
you're
outrage.
familiar with the outrage. Good.
Yes.
Okay, so I guess for those who are not in the know, Baymax was the character from Big Hero 6. He's a lovable doctor guy. I don't remember the end of Big Hero 6, but I guess he goes around town and he helps people like with their medical needs. A real
He's a healthcare
vigilante. Yeah, he's a vigilante healthcare worker. Going around the American healthcare system to deliver quality healthcare. Except I think it takes place in Canada. Maybe. I don't remember. But yeah, he
I
goes
think, I
around.
think Americans would shoot it if it was.
There is a long part where one of the patients tries to pop him.
Okay, yeah,
So,
I could see that happening.
It might be. Yeah. But yeah, there was outrage because one of the people he helps is a young 12-year-old middle school student who is experiencing her first period. And there is a scene where he goes to the store to get, hygiene products. And there is someone there who not only is a man shopping for feminine hygiene products, but he's also wearing a trans flag shirt.
What?
People have been in a tizzy about this.
This is probably the first time like conservatives even knew trans men existed.
That is
Because
probably
the discussion
true.
around trans women in sports is always centered around
That's
trans
true.
women and never trans men.
That's true.
This
That
is
is
probably
true.
conservative. This is wide eye opening for conservatives here.
Yes, it was very bold, especially since there's another dude, and Disney could have easily just have had like this other dude say, "Oh, these are my daughter's favorite." Like that's what the other guy says in the aisle, and they could have just had the trans guy say that, but they didn't. I'll give props to Disney when it's due, but this is like, this is surface
Surprised they let
level
that
stuff.
slide. I just remembered that, or I think Alex Hirsch posted something
Yeah.
earlier
Yes.
this week with like all the changes he had to make.
Yes.
It was like a really great compilation.
It's a
video.
great. He was like, I might be shooting myself in the foot
Yeah,
for posting this.
that's a really good video.
Yes, I would highly recommend. It's on Alex Hirsch's Twitter, who did Gravity Falls, one of the best shows, animated shows or otherwise. I really enjoyed that show.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So it was really funny. There was a lot of stuff that he had to, that the Disney higher ups were not happy with. So, you know, I'll give props to Disney when they let stuff like that fly. They've been doing that more recently with like some of the, like Miss Marvel has a same-sex kiss, and so that was banned in like Saudi Arabia. And I think the new Thor movie has a same-sex kiss in it, and I believe it was also banned in Saudi Arabia. They did not budge. So, oh,
Nice.
listen, this is like surface level stuff, and they should have been doing this years ago. But like, you know, I like to like kind of bash on Disney a little bit, but I'll give them props when they deserve it. So, I thought that this was a pretty good scene. I actually saw the scene and I was like, oh, this looks like really fun. Like I want to see this because of the clip that everyone's outraged about. So I watched it and it was really enjoyable. It was just a cute little show about like Baymax going around helping people, and it was really nice. It was, I don't know, like it was fine. It wasn't anything earth shattering, but it was fun. And each episode was 10 minutes, and it was five episodes long, so I could knock it out in 50 minutes. So can't say that about the new Stranger Things, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But okay, what do you want to talk about first, The Wire or Stranger Things?
I don't know. I feel like I don't know which one's gonna be longer. To
I
be
don't know
honest.
either. I feel like we're probably going to talk about Stranger Things longer.
Yeah, let's do The Wire first, because
Okay.
then we can warn you before we talk about Stranger Things, because it literally just came out, so make sure you're not spoiling
That's
yourself.
true. I accidentally got it spoiled. Literally
That's why
the
I
day
watched
it
it the
came
day
out.
of. Yeah, that's why I watched it the day of.
I thought I would be safe. I watched one episode the day it came out, and I watched one episode a day later when
Twitter's
we're recording
ruthless.
this.
You can't do that.
But I didn't get the first part of this season spoiled, and I watched it like 2 or 3 days later.
People weren't as interested. Now, when people saw that it was actually good, like a lot of people started watching it.
Yeah, I saw that this actually hit Netflix's most streamed debut, according to Nielsen. So, yeah, people are noticing. And it got spoiled for me right away. So,
Womp womp.
if you have not seen it and you've somehow avoided spoilers somehow, we will be doing that later. But let's talk about The Wire Season 5 and the show at whole. The Wire was actually trending earlier today. People were... this is dumb, and I think this is from people who have not seen The Wire. I believe the prompt was, what is a show that is the worst at propaganda? And people were saying The Wire, and I don't think they saw The Wire.
I don't think they watched The Wire.
I don't think so. Because it's like, and I'm going to be real, The Wire overrated? Question mark?
I'm conflicted because I think this is one of the best TV shows of all time, but I don't like watching it because I don't believe that I am the intended audience.
Yeah, it seems okay, I'm going to compare it to Twin Peaks, which is going to be a weird comparison. But I could watch the first season of Twin Peaks, and even though that came out 30 years ago, I could still relate to it, and I could still get a whole lot out of it. The Wire feels like it was made in 2002, and it deals with things that happened in 2002. Granted,
Things that still happen now, but
granted,
I think
yes,
the
that's...
scope was different
It
in
was
terms
different.
of audiences and TV landscape.
Yes. Where Twin Peaks felt kind of universal, and it feels very... I'm not going to say... Because it does feel like it's aged. Cause
It feels
like,
dated, but I think it aged gracefully.
yes. And I'm not going to say that The Wire didn't age gracefully, because a lot of the stuff that The Wire touches on is stuff that we're dealing with currently. Especially with policing, and this last season dealt a lot with politics, and how like this progressive mayor can make promises in like the first couple weeks he's in office, and then by the time Like by the time season 5 has come out, he's been mayor for 2 years, and he's basically just doing everything that the last guy did, which is totally a thing. And I mean, we did get that from season 4, like that he was starting to slip, but by the time
Yeah.
season 5 comes around, he's like, I just want to be governor, and I'm gonna sacrifice everything to basically get there. Which, yeah, that happens. But this last season, for me, I did not think it was as good as season 4.
Definitely not.
I don't know if that's popular. I did look at the Rotten Tomatoes score for this show, just to kind of gauge where critics were at, because I believe that Rotten Tomatoes gets critic reviews from when it came out. I didn't want to look at something that came out now, because I feel like critics are going to be like, well, it's highly regarded as one of the best things ever, so I'm not going to be critical of it. But I think as it was coming out, they would have been a little bit more critical about it, if that makes sense. And the show was pretty consistent. Like, it was I believe 100 season 1, and then like a 93, 92 seasons 2 and 3, a 100 at season 4, and then a 97 on season 5. So, I don't know. The season 5 felt like such a letdown in comparison to season 4, because it took everything.
All the characters I cared about weren't in there. So.
Right. It took everything that made season 4 so special about the schooling. I felt that the characters in season 4, especially the kids, were very interesting. I really liked the dynamic in the group. And that stuff is pretty much thrown out the window. We do not get much
Besides the Michael arc.
Besides
that was my favorite part
besides
of the
that.
season, so.
The things I really liked about this was Bubbles arc. I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed Omar. I always enjoyed Omar. I guess we're gonna get into spoilers. So spoilers if you've not seen The Wire season 5. Omar dies, and it's in the most anticlimactic way possible, which
kind of expected that, since that's kind of the show's forte.
Yes, I do kind of want to commend that, because literally any other show would have had this like great big send off where it's like this sunset showdown with Marlo Stanfield.
And,
he's like, you killed my blind uncle, and I'm so angry, I'm gonna shoot you with my shotgun. No. Omar goes to a store, and a kid that he walked past earlier shot him because he wanted to say that he shot Omar, and it would give him reputation. And that's literally not talked about for the rest of the show. Yeah. And it's kind of implied that Michael becomes the new Omar at the end of the show, which is interesting. It's interesting to see how an Omar came to be, since we did see Michael at the beginning of his transformation into the street life in season 4. So it was established, and it was a very satisfying arc. But I don't know. Every time McNulty was on the screen, it made me angry. I'm glad that he had consequences for his actions, because I felt like that he didn't have the appropriate consequences for the rest of his stuff that he did. I'm glad that he got fired, because he should have been fired. I don't know if he deserved to be fired. I can't remember what he did in seasons 1 and 2, because what he did in season 5 was so bad that it was like, how can you justify this in your small brain that you think that this is okay? I don't know if that's how you felt.
No.
Okay.
I think the entire messaging of season 5 was different in the terms of, like, I don't like any of the cop characters. Lester's decent, and I kind of like what's his face?
Bunk?
the big man.
Oh, Jay.
No, not Jay. I hate Jay.
Oh, Bunk?
Uh,
Bunk?
no. Like the lieutenant or sergeant or whatever he
Oh,
is.
Lieutenant Daniels.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I like Daniels. Um, but
Yes, he was good.
I think the main point was like, here's what we had to do to get proper funding to solve a case because we weren't getting what we needed to deal with it. You know, all these murders in vacant houses.
Yeah.
So McNulty kind of doing this really stupid thing to even just get attention on it. Of course, the whole homelessness crisis is completely manufactured.
Yeah.
And it shows just how the homeless are used as a political pawn and literally nothing else because nobody cares about them.
Yeah.
Which again is terrible. But
Right. There's that scene where Carcetti finds out that this whole
yeah,
thing was fake, and he's like, I paraded and talked about homelessness for like 2 weeks for nothing.
yeah,
It's like, my guy, you could have been like actually helping.
yeah, and that shows the kind of the fall of Carcetti as well, and just how like idiotic moves you have to make to even get into office to the point where it just strips you of all your political identity anyways.
Yeah.
So them showing that was pretty well done as well. The Bubs arc was really satisfying. I'm really
Yes.
glad they at least gave him closure. He was the one constant in all seasons that was like very interesting.
He was. Yeah.
So that was very satisfying.
I'm glad that they didn't portray, and this is something I'll give the whole show. They didn't portray drug addicts as like something scary or something as other. Like Bubs is very personable, and he has been throughout the whole show. And there's a lot of like the people that he's friends with aren't shown as like junkies that are gonna like rob you. That I feel like some other cop shows might fall into that pitfall, where it's like
Yeah.
they're and the way that they portray addiction is so real, where it's like you do see Bubs relapse and like fall back into it even as he's trying to get out of it. I thought that was really well done.
Yeah, I think this entire show is incredibly well done. It's just not something that I enjoy watching necessarily because I pretty much already knew most of like the revelations that they put throughout the show
Yeah.
of like, wow, police unions are corrupt and how media plays into state government and how it can sway a narrative and how, oh guys, these gangs that are in the streets, they're actually full of just kids born into unstable home environments looking for father figures when they literally have nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
These are all like known things at this point, but like that wasn't portrayed in television, I don't think, until The Wire came out.
No.
So I cannot take it away from that at all. And I think this is the first show that wasn't just a straight propaganda piece like Law and Order that
Right.
came before this.
Right.
So I think it's incredibly like influential in that way and showing like this dark side of the police.
Sure.
I think that's why they highlighted the police characters so much in this show, but I could not care for any of them. So I
No.
think that's a big reason why I couldn't enjoy season 5 and why the whole show for me just felt like more of a portrait piece than me physically getting engaged with it. Besides season
Right.
4,
Season 4
is
was great.
incredible. One of the best seasons of TV I've ever seen.
I would agree.
I think it aged gracefully. I think it stands it stands next to any show from any season of any show. I think
Right.
it's just brilliant.
Yes.
But I think that's like overall my thoughts. It's just like I understand the hype and I get all of it, but for me, it didn't give me any justification of anything. It just made me more anxious and depressed in a time where we're already like living through
Right.
this still.
Yes.
And just to see how little change has been made throughout this show when they're talking about like the '04 and the '08 presidency and
Right.
all of this, and now we're still here like in 2022 watching this, and it feels like we're just watching a mirror still.
Yes.
But I don't know. I think it's it's a fantastic show. It's just I don't enjoy watching it.
It's not one that I necessarily would recommend to people, where it's like, oh, you gotta see The Wire, man. Like, I think The Wire was incredibly revolutionary in how it portrayed, police and gangs, and drug addicts, kids, politics, the news. Everything is like shown exactly how it is, and it's like, it's I'm glad that they portrayed people the way that they did. Like I was never like, oh, that's weird. That's a stereotype. I felt like that they were all real people and like that I could identify with just about everyone in the show.
Yeah, I think it was incredibly realistic in that way.
But I think there have been shows that have come out since then that have probably done that better.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna this show gets compared to Breaking Bad a lot, and I don't exactly know why. I think it's just the portrayal of people.
Development.
There
Yeah.
is like, but Breaking Bad just blows every other show out of the water when it comes to like slow burn character development stuff. Where it's like I identify with Walter White and seeing him
Sus.
degrade into like at first, you know, he's a nice family man chemistry teacher, but
As
watching
we-
him slowly degrade into to Heisenberg is so satisfying. Even if you don't like what he's doing, which you shouldn't. That's the whole
Yeah, but the
point.
show's written where it's there's a quirk to it. There's humor
Yeah.
in it. It's
Yeah.
really incredibly engaging and full of action and stuff. The Wire is literally just frame for frame, like
Yeah.
inner city turmoil
And there's
spread across 5 seasons.
there's levity in The Wire, but most of it comes with the interpersonal relations between police officers, of
Yeah.
which I don't much care for their characters. I think that all of the police characters are easily the worst and least engaging like parts of the show. I do have to throw some respects for how they portrayed Greg's, because I feel like especially in 2002, man, like Ellen got her show canceled because she came out. Like the way that like lesbian women were seen in the culture was very different than it is now. So having a like a gay female cop,
Yeah,
no
she was
less.
written in better than shows will try to do today to like force like, oh, look at us guys.
Yeah, she wasn't a token. Like that was
No, not at all.
she felt like a real person.
Same with Omar. It was like
Omar,
completely
yeah.
just like
wa-
that's incredible.
It was
having that.
circumstantial that Omar was gay. It was not like, look, we have a gay
Exactly.
person here. And that's the issue that I
And it
often
wasn't a
have.
stereotype either. It was
No.
like this is like the Rambo of this series.
Right. He's like the coolest guy.
Yeah.
He wears like a black duster and just
Mm-hmm.
is like surgical with a shotgun and robs gangsters. That's the coolest guy in the entire show, and he just happens to be gay, and it's awesome. I love Omar, and I'm sad that they did him so dirty. Not that they probably shouldn't have did what I said was Sunset Confrontation. Same with
No,
like
that'd be
D. I really loved D.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, he died in
That feels so
season 2.
long ago at this point.
It does. That was 3
I
seasons
mean,
ago.
Stringer and D and that whole area is like locked up by the end of the series or dead.
Right.
And then like I guess that's another thing is that it literally shows the entire cycle from season 1 to season 5 of
Yeah.
how inner city gangs function. Like you
Right.
literally see the cycles of everybody go through, which was like really fascinating.
That was cool.
But and then the whole show being a mirror between gangs and police and just having like parallels everywhere was also really well written. So yeah, the show is fantastic. Like
It's
I
great.
can see it as one of the best ones. It's just I don't like watching it as much, which is
Especially
fine.
now.
You don't have to like enjoy all art. I understand why it was made, and it was incredibly well made.
I wonder if we watched these seasons like even a year ago, would we have felt different watching it? Because like
No,
like right now it feels like everything's on fire and nobody has a
it was
fire
last year,
extinguisher.
too.
I know, but especially now, like we are there's so much like crisis going on in this country, and to watch the same shit 20 years ago was very disheartening. You know, and yeah, like this
If I
was
watched this
happening.
10 years ago, yeah,
Yeah,
not 1 year ago, not 2 years ago, not 3 years ago. It would have to be
it would have to be
far enough
a
back.
while. Okay. I I don't know.
For me personally, at least.
I feel like it would have been easier for me to stomach not right now. But like, cause the last couple episodes there, as we were watching it and everything was on fire, I was just like, this is not an escape.
Yeah, it's incredibly rough.
Yeah. So yeah, very good. I don't know if I would recommend it for everybody. You know, we'll have to see. We're watching The Sopranos. Not right now. We are taking a very long break.
Thank God.
Thank God, yes. We are watching Close Enough right now, which we have talked about before as it has been coming out. It is a very good adult animated show that is not like Family Guy or something, where it's like, oh, it's an adult animated show. That means that
It's
we
a
can
regular
have...
show for dudes in their late 20s.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I think the issue that I often have with adult animation is that they use the format of adult animation to just be like, oh, we can have like chicks in a bikinis and we can say shit and like stuff like that. We can have sex in it and have Quagmire say giggity. And it's like, that's lame. Like that's so childish and frankly it's uncreative. It's very lame and dumb. This show is just, it's fun, and it's if you liked regular show, like if you grew up with regular show, like JG Quintel grew up with you. It's great.
And
I
this
love
show
it when that
will
happens.
so.
Yes.
It's pretty good so
Very
far.
good. I don't think it's dipped. Like it's just been very solid.
I feel like there's a lot of like material to go off of for like episode ideas, because literally any mundane thing in your 20s could be turned into an episode of regular show, because you can just have something crazy happen.
And every single character is so vastly different.
Yeah.
Like you could have an entire...
the Randy episodes are great.
Those are great. Yeah. Yeah. I love all the stuff. It's great. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to watch regular show. So we probably aren't going to be talking about TV shows for a minute, because what are we going to talk about? It was like, Close Enough was great. It was funny. I liked this episode. Yay. It's like, I don't know. There isn't a whole lot to talk about.
There's not a lot of... Well, I don't want to say that, but there's not a lot of nuanced discussion to be had about shows,
there's stuff to talk about. We could say, oh, well, I really like the animation in this part. The thing they did in this story was really good. But like, we aren't going to go in depth like we just did for The Wire season 5. If we do bring up that we are talking about TV, it will be probably very brief.
Well, Saul's coming back, so if Saul episodes are interesting enough,
we yes, Saul is coming back. I am so pumped.
I'm very excited.
I'm very excited. It's going to be right after you guys come down. So we're going to come down, we're going to have a fun party time, and then we're going to watch Saul.
Back to business.
Yeah, I'm so excited. So that's about it for that. But let's talk about the other show that we watched / it came out this week. Stranger Things Season 4 Part 2. The
last part.
The last part. The first episode was an hour and a half, and the second episode was 2.5 hours. What would you rather do? Watch the last episode of Stranger Things or watch Goodfellas? I know my answer.
Kate Bush isn't in Goodfellas, so I know.
No, I don't know if Kate Bush... Well, no, Kate Bush would have been making music when Goodfellas came out. But Scorsese would not have done that. Yeah. Scorsese only likes Frank Sinatra and Italian music.
Yeah.
But let's talk about Stranger Things. Spoilers, obviously. So if you have not seen it, I think short answer, I really liked it. I thought it was very good. We also we liked the first part, which was surprising.
Surprisingly, it was a big surprise.
Surprised me, and especially since we
I
were
talked
both...
about like the first episode of it like that one week on the podcast. I'm like, I don't know if it's just because like I have it in the background and it's cool, but like I'm really enjoying it. And then it got really good. So
yeah, you said that, and I'm like, should I even start watching it? Like I was even on the fence because season 3 did me so dirty. It felt like it was like, okay, we started as like this fun little kids on bikes revival thingy from the 80s, but it's like a horror thing. It's like, oh, that's fun. I haven't seen that done before. And then it kind of just devolved into 80s. Remember malls? Remember Coca-Cola, New Coke? Remember the Beastie Boys?
I think season 3 was the big downturn of it.
Yes.
And then there was such a long break where it was always like that was the last experience you had with it.
Yeah.
Because season 1 and 2 are really good.
Yes.
But it got the magic back with season 4, that's for sure.
That is the most shocking thing about this.
Yeah.
Is that they somehow
The comeback was fantastic.
Yes. It's really good. And it's way darker than any of the other seasons. Especially with how they do like gore. I felt like that the gore in this season was way higher than I remember from any of the other seasons.
Yeah.
Which isn't a bad thing. For me, it is a bad thing for people who are sensitive to that. But I don't know if people who are sensitive to that watch the first seasons. The thing is, I don't remember the first 2 seasons very well. I watched them when they came out, and I was like 16.
I've seen pictures of the kids from season 1 and 2. I'm like, wow,
don't even
that's like a
remember.
different person.
Yeah, it's like I don't remember what Finn
They're
Wolfhard looked like.
babies. Like he was tiny.
Oh, tiny Finn Wolfhard. Yeah, I should probably rewatch it. But I'm too busy watching the Fast and Furious movies. Oh wait, I need to talk about Too Fast, Too Furious. Well, we'll do that after Stranger Things. But let's talk about the second part. The second part came out yesterday as of us recording this. And I guess we'll just start off. What did you think of the second part of season 4?
I think it ended well.
I thought so.
They didn't take a downturn. They didn't go overboard. They just made it great. I have the same thoughts as the first part, where it's like, it's not. It feels like an 80s horror movie, and there's certain tropes in it that I would usually roll my eyes at, but it fits this show because it is so rooted in that.
Yes.
So like the weird villain stuff where there's like monologues where they could have just easily won.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. Usually that would bother me, but like understanding like how goofy the show can get sometimes, and just like it is playing off an incredible 80s trope.
Right.
Where it's like, I don't mind it. Do your thing.
Yeah.
I think it paced out well. I will say like the last episode, like I was like 3 hours in and I thought it was ending, and I'm like, oh, I haven't, or I'm like 2 hours.
There's
in,
like another bit. I had the
another half
same
hour.
thing. Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was really good. That they did say there was gonna be blood. There was blood.
There was.
And I think the way they left it open for season 5 was done a lot better than the way they did season 3 going into 4.
Yeah.
Because I hated that.
I hated that too. I was so pissed when Hopper was alive.
Yep.
Like that was the thing that completely took me out of the show, where I was like, I don't even want to watch season 4.
Yeah,
where it's like, if people's arcs don't matter, then what is the point?
It felt like a Marvel movie.
Yeah, exactly. That's my issue with a lot of this new like multiverse stuff that Marvel does, where Kevin Feige says like, well, in our universe, no one's truly dead.
Oh,
It's like, well then,
nice.
why should I care?
No stink.
There's absolutely no stakes. It's the same reason why Superman has never been interesting. An invincible protagonist is not interesting. Now they try to rectify that by giving him like flaws and having him be like a weird personality.
My
Or is that-
wife left me.
My Lois Lane makes me sad. And don't say Martha, or else I'll make you cry. But yeah, I felt like in this season I was a little bit. I'm gonna say that the pacing was a little. I felt like that every episode was just a little bit too fat. Like I feel like you probably could have chopped like
Yeah, there was a lot of content.
5 or so minutes from each episode. There was some stuff that I felt wasn't exactly super necessary. But
I guess I don't share that because I was doing things while watching,
okay.
so I wasn't like intently watching the whole time.
I mostly wasn't. I mostly had it on the background for like the first couple episodes, and I'm like, this is good. I'm gonna like sit down and watch this. And then as soon as I started doing that, I started noticing like scenes drag, and like a lot of there was. I get why like Mike and Will and that crew was on the road. We didn't see like hardly any of them, and we saw a whole lot of 11 hallucinations. When I feel like that probably could have gotten a little bit chopped, but I know that they had to pace it that way so that you could identify with Vecna a little bit, where he was once a person. It's like I don't know, like Anakin and Darth Vader, where in the prequels they wanted to give him a little bit of a personality, which didn't work, but
Well,
they
some would
tried.
argue that it did.
Some would argue it worked in the Clone Wars TV show, but in the movies, no. But I get it. I get it. I get that they needed that, and that they probably wanted to make it so that 11 didn't get her powers back immediately. Like they wanted to kind of have a
Yeah, because then it'd be like, what's the point?
yeah, it would be too fast. I don't know. I just felt like, did it really need to be this long?
I feel like the
Like,
length is justified, but the time spent on certain areas was a little lopsided. Because
yeah,
I love Argyle.
I do too.
I'm an Argyle stan, and
Me
that whole
too.
group was great.
Yes.
Just the boys on a road trip. I would have liked to see more of that in the first part.
Yes.
Because they did it in the second part, and there's a really fantastic scene with Will.
Yes.
I
Yeah,
wish
we need
there
to
would have
talk
been
about
more of that in part one, because obviously Will's going through a gigantic like meltdown,
Yes.
which has been kind of brewing since like season two. Like
Yeah.
we knew after season one that he was still like not right. Like they still had like the upside down stuff like in his head or whatever.
Yes.
And they kind of showed that again at the end of season four, kind of leading into where they're going next, which is cool. To taking it even further back,
Yes.
back to basics. But I think Will's character is like the most fascinating character right now, and he's only gotten screen time in the second part.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
that I would have liked more from them, even if it's just stupid scenes. Like you have to remember that this show is taking itself more seriously now, but like
Yeah.
a lot of people grew up with these kids. So we're very interested in their characters.
That
like
is
you
true.
can give us throwaway scenes of them just like having a fun road trip experience.
That
Like,
would
I
have
don't
been
care.
fun.
Like break down and have to go get a spare tire or gas or something. Like that's all I
Yes.
need, really.
Yeah, this season felt so it was almost an overcorrection, where I feel
A little
like
bit.
they got I don't know how widespread our feelings on season 3 are, where we kind of have that criticism where it felt too poppy. It felt
You could definitely feel the hype die down
yeah.
after season three came out. So I'm not sure. It gained a different fan base, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, because I've seen a lot of people like watch the first episode of season 4 and turn it off because they like enjoyed season 3 and that feeling so much
Because
that
it was light for the
yeah,
most part.
and that shift like completely it's pretty jarring if you're like watching. I guess if you watch season 3 into season 4, that would be
That's
really
huge.
weird.
Yeah, I mean, it was even jarring for me. Like,
Yeah.
start of season 4, where it's like people's bones are breaking and their eyes are exploding. Like
Yes.
that's crazy.
Yeah, I was shocked. I'm not usually a huge body horror guy, and that was like, ooh, that's a lot
Like
for
they're
me.
just going out.
I do not like watching bones break. Like that is one of my
Yeah, that's
things I
one
do
of
not
the
like.
worst.
So, yeah, I don't know. But I think going back to that kind of overcorrection, where this season was, it wasn't totally like down and depressing and kind of dark. Like there was those scenes of levity, where like I felt like that a lot of the Soviet stuff, where like that smuggler guy is very much the comic relief. He's a very silly guy, except when he
Eddie
betrays.
Justin was a good day.
Eddie was also, except he got like super serious after episode 1 for some reason. I don't exactly get that.
Well, he brought it back. He wasn't like too over the top.
I know I was doing a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just felt like everyone was so sad, which yeah, people would
Just
be.
be happy.
But like I would have loved some like scenes with Argyle, where they like get lost or like they do something on the road. not anything super crazy. Like they fight about what music on, and Argyle's like, "Man, we gotta listen to Cheech and Chong's new record, dude. It's like the only cool thing that's out there right now."
I love him so much.
I love him too.
Yeah, I just feel like they took the easy route with Dustin, Steve, and now Eddie, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, where that was kind of like the easy comic relief point. But
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, you know, there is that relationship, and this is something that I praised in the part one discussion, where Steve and Dustin aren't like shown as like in season 3, like when Dustin walks into ice cream store,
yeah,
like
it's
Steve is
completely
like,
different.
dude, you are my bro. Like you are so awesome. I love you. We're like bros and we hang out all the time. And it's like this is a 19-year-old dude hanging out with like a 14-year-old boy. Not that there's anything weird with the age thing. It's just that people are in completely different spaces when you're in those two ages, and those
Yeah.
they do not
That's
mesh.
why I actually really love the Robin and Steve thing
Yeah.
throughout this season. I thought that was a perfect like counter to that
Yes.
issue.
Yes. I felt
This
like
show is so good at character like interaction.
yes, yes. I want to talk, especially right at the end. This is probably, I believe his name is Kit Harington, who plays Steve. Spoilers. They're at like this like big relief site. They're at like this gym because there's like this huge earthquake that's caused by all of the shenanigans that the kids are into with Vecna. But they're like volunteering at this place. And Robin finally is talking with this chick that she has a crush on. And there's just this moment where you see Steve and he just looks over and he just like smiles. Perfect. That is like some perfect like character interaction where it isn't a big thing, where he doesn't run over to Robin right after the interaction and be like, dude, that was so awesome that you finally talked to the girl that you're crushing on. Like, this is a big moment. It was just a little acknowledgement where he looks over and he smiles. He sees it. That's all we needed. It was absolutely perfect. It was so understated. Where
Yeah, I want to add to that with like the 11 thing in the last episode. There wasn't like a big like thing in the hospital because everybody kind of knew already.
Yeah.
And like it was implied about what happened. So it's like they're not going to overstate it, or 11's not going to be like, I actually saved her.
Yeah.
It was just like a known thing. So I think the season did that well a lot too. It didn't like over explain things.
Yes. And it didn't I felt like that season 3 kind of portrayed them as cartoon characters a little bit of like
these feel
how
more
they
like real
acted.
people.
These felt more like real people,
Yeah.
especially kids. Like I loved how there's this part in part 1 where Lucas and Max are talking about Kate Bush, and Lucas is like, I'm a big Kate Bush fan, and Max is like, what? I've never heard you talk about Kate Bush. He's like, well, I am now because she like saved your life. And that is like totally how like early high school kids think, where it's like, well, I have to be a fan of this thing because it's what one of my like my girlfriend, like that's, I have to like completely identify with like my girlfriend on this 1-to-1. And it's like, that is exactly what a 16-year-old boy would do to get in this chick's pants. Like, not, you know what I'm saying. I am, no, I'm just, that's not what I'm saying, you coward. Don't put words in my mouth. I was praising the authenticity of how these characters talk. Or there was that scene in it was with Mike and Elle, where I was impressed with how they portrayed Mike's relationship, and they did kind of go into that in part 2, where it kind of felt like they brought it up and then they didn't bring it up again for a really long time, where like Elle's like, you never say you love me. Like I write in my letters that I love you, and you say from Mike at the end of every single one of your letters. And it's just like I completely identify with that too.
I think that comes from like, again, the main issue of not having the scenes split up enough. I feel like if they could have just shown Mike growing a little bit more gradual with that realization, instead of Will having to drop this gigantic bomb like in one episode, I would have liked to see more interplay though. Even though I wanted that Will scene to still happen because I think that is like the best scene.
That is probably the best scene in the show.
Yeah, and that cleared up a lot of things for a lot of people.
Yes.
Because there was a lot of talk about that in the first part, and I didn't notice it. I don't know if it's because it wasn't apparent, or if I thought it was just a Stan Twitter ship thing. But now I kind of understand it, and I think it works incredibly well.
See, that was one of the things that I talked about in part 1, where it's like I could actually see this being a thing, and
Yeah.
it didn't feel over like heavy-handed, because like they established that Elle and Mike were having relationship things, and I really liked that dynamic of like how kids have like their first relationships, and how like, well, I have to date her. She's like a superhero, and I love that she saved the world, but I don't necessarily like love her. And it's like, not that, superhero, like kids aren't getting in relationships with like superheroes, whatever. But it felt like that they were staying together for the sole reason that she had superpowers, and Mike thought that that was like super cool, and like that was like, she's like, why don't you love me? Like there's that tension in the beginning, and I really liked that there was that, it was implied that that Will was he had this painting. We didn't know what the painting was. I always I thought it would have been like really funny to, it was like that George Costanza painting where he's like, the George Costanza painting. It was just that with Mike. I thought that would have been funny, but also it would have been, no, that probably would have been weird because they're playing 16-year-olds.
No, yeah, it'd be a little strange.
But yeah, I really liked that because it was open to that, where it was like Mike obviously isn't being completely 100% with his feelings, or he doesn't know exactly what he's feeling, or he's confused about what a relationship is. And I really liked that it was like, okay, I can actually see this. This isn't just Stan Twitter being like,
Oh yeah, that's real. That happens.
yeah. So I was like, I'm open to it if they do it.
Yeah.
They just
And
have to write it right.
I see a lot of people getting angry at Mike's character, but not realizing that he's a teenager in his first relationship, because
Yeah.
messing up is just like the biggest part of that usually.
Yes.
I mean, that's personal experience, but I'm guessing everybody is like
No,
that.
yeah,
Where it's just
I
like,
think,
how do
yeah.
I deal with this? But I think just Will's like, I don't know. That's just the best part of the season, where like Will just pours his heart out, talking about a thing that he's talking about, but kind of not talking about, and he's kind of painting himself in that picture while he's talking about it.
Yeah.
And Jonathan kind of understanding already, which we kind of already knew.
Yes.
So I don't know. I need a Will like centered season 5, because his character is so incredibly good right now.
And he's
Just
been
like,
so he's done so dirty for like
he
the
has
rest of the show.
been. He's just kind of been the bait in season 1, and then just kind of thrown to the side.
Yeah,
Meanwhile, he's got incredible PTSD. He's dealing with, he's dealing with like bisexual or gay feelings, and there's like a whole lot going on there
In the 80s. Like there's,
in the 80s in
They-
a small
they've-
town.
yeah.
We're
They've
talking
kinda,
Midwest gay.
they have,
Robin's captured the Midwest gay.
they've talked about that
Yeah.
with Robin, where it's like,
Yeah.
where they were talking with Steve, and like she's like, you ask a girl out and like you just get over it. I ask a girl out and I'm the town
exactly.
pariah, and it's like, yeah, I get that, like that. Yeah, I think Will, yeah, they didn't know what to do with him. They made him the bait, and he was great bait for season 1. You got to get the kids on bikes to do something.
Yeah, exactly.
Which if this was
I like
a
where he's
move,
going though.
Yes.
I'm most interested in his character right now. Going forward.
I think I am too. I think him and Argyle, I think, have the most room for growth.
Yeah, and I've always liked Jonathan, so I want to see
do
a
too.
Jonathan and Argyle arc with Will. It's separate, of course, because they're on two different journeys, so to say.
Of
But, like,
course.
I need this Argyle and Jonathan journey to turn into like them opening a pizza restaurant or something.
That would be so much fun. Like, can we just have like a little bit? Like, don't
Yeah.
overdo it. Don't do
Don't
them
overdo
all.
it. Don't do season 3.
Don't do them all. But have like one arc that's just fun. Like, just to contrast a little bit. Because
I think it's because we're so connected to the characters, we kind of grew
Yeah.
up with them. So it's just like it's stupid, but you need that kind of sitcom type style where it's like the characters have these weird little quips that they have.
Right. Well, I mean, there's a reason that Marvel has that formula where
Yeah,
it's like
it works.
serious moment contrasted with fun quip,
Mm-hmm.
which, yeah, everybody kind of gets it and it's kind of grown stale. But there's a reason that that works because you're advancing the story while also humanizing people and making them relatable to the audience. So that's why like the Guardians of the Galaxy movies are so great because they perfectly combine like
Just
actively
idiots on a spaceship.
they're idiots. It's fun. It's just stupid fun
Yeah.
and it doesn't feel like that the whole world is ending even though it does kind of devolve into that in number 2. But yeah, same with like the Spider-Man movies. I feel like Homecoming is
Spider-Man's
so
always had that balance.
especially like I think the Sam Raimi movies and Homecoming specifically have done a really great job of these small conflicts that aren't like the whole world is going to explode. Like not every superhero thing needs to be a Thanos. In Homecoming, Spider-Man is just fighting a guy who sells guns to people. It's just like
That's
so
like every
understated.
person.
That's how like every superhero like comic thing is, but every movie it's like, oh, Ant-Man has to fight a thing that it's gonna. It's like no, Ant-Man
Yeah,
fights
you don't
nothing.
have to do Dragon Ball Z where it's like this person's gonna blow up half the universe
Yeah,
because it's not on that scale. It's just like, yeah,
yeah, it's
it's
fun
not that
to
comical.
no. That's why that's always kind of resonated with me more than like a Thor
Hmm.
or a Superman, because it's like not everything. It's just so small. He's a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. That's why he's so compelling.
That's why he goes to Europe. in the
That's
second
well, yeah, we don't talk about that.
one. I need to kill Jake
I
Gyllenhaal.
need to kill Jake Gyllenhaal. Except Jake
That's
Gyllenhaal was actually the good guy. That was the twist.
Oh, that was the twist of the movie.
Except that he's the bad guy. That's the second twist of the
And
movie.
that's yeah.
Well, I always knew that Mysterio was a bad guy. I was just waiting for it. So I guess if you didn't know anything about Spider-Man and you just went to see that movie, then it was a twist. But for me, who has played Spider-Man 2 on the PS2, I happen to know that
That's the first video
Mysterio's a
game I
bad guy.
ever played, so that's ingrained in
That's
my
the
brain.
first one.
Yeah, it's the first one I've ever played.
I think the first one I ever played was Rogue Squadron.
I think
for
I was
the...
like 2 years old.
Hey, well, that's not a bad place to start. That's a good game. What are we talking about? Stranger Things?
Stranger Things. I was pretty much done. I think that's everything
Yeah.
I wanted to cover.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think.
Make Will the main character next season, or at least in the spotlight more. Do something with Mike because like his character is really accurate, but people don't want to look at him right now.
Yeah, people are a little bit mad.
A little upset,
But-
but like that's how teenage boys are. So
Yeah,
that's, just get used to it.
It's-
We're kind of idiots for a while.
we're dumb. And especially in
Yeah.
the first relationship where it
Yeah,
felt.
it's like
That's how it
it's
feels.
yeah.
Like, yeah, you're gonna make mistakes, and it's okay. This is the time to do it.
This is the time to do it.
So don't be too hard on him. He's trying
I
his
get it.
best.
Stranger Things 4, a 4 out of 5.
I would agree. I would say a 4 out of 5. Which is way better than season 3, which is probably a 2 out of 5 for me, if I'm being
Yeah.
honest. 2 points is
Give it
very
a-
good.
I give it a 2.5. Just to be
2.5?
completely mid.
I think that ending just absolutely ruined it for me. Like I don't even remember the rest of the season. Like I remember Max's
gets
brother was a
clapped.
thing.
And then like, yeah.
Can we talk about Eddie before we end our talk
Oh,
on
yeah.
Stranger Things?
Talk about Eddie.
Okay, what is it with this show with introducing compelling characters that die by the end of the season?
There's one in every season. There was Bob, there was Billy, and then there's Eddie.
Which I feel like people are like saying that
There are
Billy
theories
was,
of
like,
Eddie not being dead, so
Oh,
we'll see
that
what
would be
happens
fun.
with that.
But I think like people, we did not like Billy in season 3.
No.
He's the bad guy. I don't like people comparing Billy to Bob. Bob was the cutest guy in the whole wide realm.
I love Bob.
He's played by one of the nicest people, Sean Astin. It's like he's the nicest guy ever. You do not compare him to Billy. I was sad
No.
when Bob died. I was not
I
sad when
like
Billy died.
I like Billy more than whatever like jock white boy was
Oh,
the main villain this season. I
that's
just hated
true.
him. There
He
was no
was
nuance
bad.
to his character. He was just like a white Christian athlete. Like that's
Yeah.
the most evil,
I'm
like
pretty
boring
yeah.
evil.
Boring evil. I think they were going for like that satanic panic
That
in the
satanic panic.
80s with the D&D stuff,
Yeah,
which I'm
which was
glad that
cool.
they
I really
brought
like
up.
that.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
glad they
and
brought that up cuz like
yeah,
that does
that
not
was definitely a thing.
yeah, that was not brought up in like the first two seasons when it's like these guys are playing D&D and that was seen as like Satan worship in the 80s. Like we should probably address that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad they did. It was fun that they even said at the end like there was this news story where it's like Eddie hasn't been seen since the earthquake and he's presumed dead. He was a part of this cult called Hellfire.
Yeah, he
And
like
it's like
concluded
they
that.
fully like cemented that that's what it was. Which I thought was very accurate as
Mm-hmm.
someone who has played D&D before and I get so much discrimination because I play D&D. It's not even funny.
I just get discriminated against because it's a nerd thing, not because it's a Satan thing.
That's true. Yeah, nobody.
Although D being a nerd's kind of like the thing nowadays, though. Like, there's a ton of people at work that play D&D. It's like, it's just the thing now.
I think. Well, Critical Role isn't that like the most successful Twitch
Yeah,
thing?
Critical Role is the most successful Twitch channel and like all that.
Yeah. So it's in.
I can see it.
It's
Yeah.
in. It's weird how that went to a 180, where it used to be seen as Satan worship, and now it's the most successful thing on one of the most successful streaming platforms.
Progression. I will say the Master of Puppets inclusion.
Yeah, that was
fantastic.
nice. That was
I
nice.
loved that.
I thought that music was done
music this
really
season was
well
so
this
good.
season.
Yeah.
Not only the Kate Bush thing, which there was that part in part one where she's like escaping Vecna, and that song is, ooh, that's perfect.
It had to be that song too. There's no
Yes.
other song that has that kind of power.
But there
It
was
goated.
there was the end of the first episode of part two, where they play Journey's Separate Ways, but they do like this different arrangement of it as
Yep,
it's like,
yep, it was really good.
oh, that was awesome. I thought
I was
there-
like, what song is this? And then it comes in, I'm like, oh,
yeah.
okay.
I was like, man, and that's like, that was great. I also, this is just me being a James Taylor fan. I'm always a
Oh
sucker.
yeah, I saw that. I'm like, oh, yep.
They played Fire and Rain, as it was as they were just driving, and I'm like, this
Yeah.
is perfect, just driving music.
I
That
also
one,
really loved the Kate Bush like reprise thing. They did like a
yeah.
it was like a slower. I don't know if it was slower. It was like a synth version maybe or something. It
was
was
a
like part of
gr-
the score.
Yeah, it was
but
a different
like the same
arrangement.
melody.
It was cool.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yes, the way that they did music, especially, I'm not going to talk about Fire and Rain. That was not one of the like standout ones, but Kate Bush and then that Journey song and Master of Puppets. Those three
Yeah, I
songs
love the Master of Puppets.
were wow. Those were so cool that they didn't just like play the song. They like actually worked it into the score, which was so cool. I love when people do that. I know I just gave Scorsese shit earlier in this podcast, but he often does that. He does a lot with like popular music and integrating it in with his score, which is very cool.
Yeah, I think Running Up That Hill is the best song that's been chosen for a TV show in a long time.
Yeah.
That's my favorite from this season. And then the Master of Puppets inclusion is like perfect because it's like
It's
the
what?
Max thing where she's running through her mind, and that whole album is based off like mental health.
Oh, okay.
So that song, if you have the lyrics going with it, it's like literally a mirror of what's happening in the show.
Plus, it's like what an Eddie character would be
Yeah, exactly.
listening to. Yeah.
But Metallica's best album too, so you gotta love it for that.
I'm
Classic.
not a very big Metallica fan, so I do not have any room to judge. So
Darn.
I'll let you talk about the 80s hair bands because you're obviously super into those.
Obviously, I loved Metallica when I was 12, and they're still pretty good.
Metallica's pretty good. I feel like they
I just didn't venture that far off into metal after that.
No.
They're the gateway drug.
Yeah. I like some of Ozzy's stuff.
Black Sabbath's good.
Black Sabbath's pretty good. I like AC/DC. Like some of the Black album's pretty good.
I think that's more like heavy rock than metal, but it's like one thing off of metal.
Yeah,
It's like we're getting there.
I don't know much about that because I don't listen to like anything that's even a little bit like hard. Like I just I
Guitar Hero was my gateway into metal. So.
That's true. Yeah, yeah. I did not play any Guitar Hero, except for the new one with the funny controller.
Yeah.
But enough about Guitar Hero. Let's talk about
Very good
music.
season.
Very, very good season. Watch it if you haven't, unless you're scared of monsters.
Or people's bones snapping and children violence.
Yeah, yeah, that too.
And being very sad in the last episode.
I cried.
I cried 7 times. Are we doing music now? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, let's transition.
Okay. Not a whole lot this week, but there are a couple very interesting things that happened.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll talk about actually the Minion soundtrack came out.
What?
I didn't listen to it yet. I don't know what we're doing with that.
Are we gonna do a video?
I don't know. I'm thinking we could match like the people that are going to the theater in full suits, so we could just like wear suits and like be just extra petty the whole time. But I don't have a suit.
I
and
don't
I'm
have
not
a
gonna
suit
buy one
either.
for Minions video.
No. It would be
but-
funny though.
But that's out. Haven't listened to it. I don't know what's happening with that. If I'm gonna listen to it or not. There's a Wise Blood song and a Phoebe song and all this other stuff.
I'd be
So
interested.
I kinda wanna listen to it, but
Yeah, I would do it, but like this would be like my first time listening to a Wise Blood thing.
yeah, that's probably not the best impression.
Okay. I'm also
Yeah.
really scared that the Minions themselves did a cover of Cecilia,
They did do that.
and that should be a crime, frankly.
Yeah, that's definitely something that shouldn't have happened.
Which I do gotta say that the Despicable Me movies actually have a pretty good reputation of having a good soundtrack because they got
That's true.
Pharrell to do the.
Yeah, Pharrell did Happy.
Well, he did the first two.
Actually, Pharrell did
Despicable
the
Me.
whole. Yeah, he did the
He
whole.
did the
score.
soundtracks for
There's-
both of those.
There's a lot of Pharrellisms. If I would have went back and watched the movies now, I could probably pick out a Pharrell.
Probably would.
conclusion.
He also did the score for Amazing Spider-Man 2, which is
Oh.
that's one of the ones that he did not do a very good job.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, Yeet released a Minion song though, which is it's a trap song about minions.
Is it not connected to the thing?
It's not on the album, but it came out like the same time around this is happening. So I don't know if this is just a coincidence or if he's just taking advantage of it. But I like to think it's official because it goes hard.
It's produced by Universal, which owns
Oh.
Illumination. So
Oh, it's not on the soundtrack though, so I'm wondering if this was like an extra, which is funny because
Maybe.
Yeet is in a Minions movie. But it's a Yeet song about Minions and Gru.
I
It's
don't know.
it's ironically hard. I don't really like Yeet that much, but like it goes hard just knowing the subject matters about Despicable Me. Like that can change a way you view something.
Of course.
But yeah, that happened. I want to talk about Soccer Mommy because this record is amazing. So I just need to put it out there real quick that this record is really good.
Didn't we talk about it last week?
We reacted to it last week.
Oh, I thought we brought it up that we just said short answer. It's very good. I feel like we didn't.
I'm just cementing myself as like this is really good. This is in like my top 10 this year.
I am really impressed with it. Also, I
Yeah.
think I didn't give it enough credit on the first listen. I'm thoroughly
Yep,
enjoying this thing. And also, to those people who say that the last quarter is bad, you are
What do you
dumb.
mean?
That's the best part of the
That
record.
is the best part of the record.
Like
for
fire,
sure.
fire in the driveway down is like
Yeah.
awesome.
Nothing but heat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So,
don't know what they're on.
I
But
don't know.
we have the right opinion, of course.
Of course.
2 weird things this week. Sufjan dropped 2 versions
Oh.
of 4th of July.
Yes.
So
Yes.
there is now a 3-pack EP on a Spotify that has the April Vase version, the Dumbo version, and the regular
regular
4th of
one.
July. If you really want to hurt yourself, just listen to all 3 of them in a row.
I've listened to the 2 back to back. I've not gone and then listened to the real version.
I will say the real version is one of the best songs ever made.
I would say so.
So I can't really compare those, but I think it shows how strong a song is when you can strip it down to this many levels. Like Dumbo was
Yes.
literally
Yeah,
just
it's
a demo
just-
version.
That's what I was gonna
but
say. I
it's
really
still
love
so
that.
good. It's
that
so good.
that Dumbo version, I was not hot on it immediately, and then the 2nd
Mhm.
time I listened to it, I'm
It's
like,
just so intimate.
that's it. That's it. Yeah.
I think the whole thing that heightens Carrion Lowell is those like ethereal synths mixed in with acoustic guitar. So I think that's why the
Yes,
original
yes.
version is just so far beyond. April bass version, I wasn't big on at first because it felt like it was too uplifting or upbeat in like
Yeah.
the guitar. But going back to it, I still really like it.
I really enjoy
Apparently,
the backing vocals that they did in that one. I thought that
yes,
was awesome.
yeah, it was cool. Um, these were recorded in Justin Vernon's studio in New Clare,
Oh.
Wisconsin, I believe. So
Oh, okay. I thought
that's fun.
Sufjan was I thought he was in New York.
He goes all over the place. Go Oregon, New York. I don't know. I mean,
Okay.
but like indie people like Bon Iver and Sufjan are kind of like
Yeah.
right
I,
next to
I
each other.
I would love to see those two work together.
Yeah,
That
I
would
think
be
that could be
awesome.
fun. But I bought there's a special 7-inch on his
Oh,
store where you can buy both these versions. Um, so I definitely had to cop those.
I
Carrie and Lowell,
should.
perfect record. It's like I got the record already, but like this little extra thing of one of the best songs ever made, I'm buying it.
I saw that he also released the greatest gift thing on LP, which is
Yes.
like
I
the
don't know if that
demos
was.
and stuff.
I don't. I think I've seen that before in record stores, but I think it was just a reissue.
Yeah,
Um,
I got an email that it was on his Bandcamp. I
okay.
think it was like a gold. It looked like it was gold. The
Yeah, it's a
vinyl.
gold vinyl.
Yeah.
But I have not listened to The Greatest Gift. I probably should. I know it's just remixes and demos, but like
Yeah.
Carrie and Lowell is such a strong record where like all formats of those songs are going to be amazing.
Yes.
And the
Yeah.
Carrie and Lowell live record is also such a
Very,
great
very good.
experience. It's pretty much Carrie and Lowell, but like more explosive, like you would imagine at a concert.
Yeah.
There's more heavy sections. It gets loud. There's different detours, and the track listing's different, but still works as strong. So
There's
a
also
very good live record.
there's also a cover of Death with Dignity that he was a part of, where it was all instrumental. It came out earlier this year.
Oh,
I don't know if he was credited on it because he wrote it, but it looked like it was like listed how like Spotify does features, where it was like
yeah,
he was on it.
that's interesting.
But that was also very good. I don't have uh what or like who did it, but I did get that notification earlier this year, and I was I
Hmm.
mean that's the thing about Carrie and Lowell, is that these are some really solid songs. Even without words, it hits hard.
Oh yeah, you could not be paying attention and still feel it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really cool. I was not expecting that, but like I'll take it.
Yeah.
It was just a weird thing to be like, oh, 2 versions of 4th of July. That's what I need right now.
Yeah.
Other weird thing this week, Cara Cara Bonito's Sarah Bonito is doing a
Oh.
little side project
Yeah.
under Cryolot. I was expecting something like this. I think the group talked about something like this, how their next project is going to be a while out, but there's still like something that we're working on. So this is just Sarah. I don't think us and Jamie are tied to this at all, and I forgot who she's working with on production. But this is noise metal, Kira Kira Bonito, and I absolutely love it.
I
This
don't.
this is great. This is awesome. I've been waiting for Sarah to do this because the Toe Tap EP and Time and Place exist, and they were definitely playing around with that kind of stuff with like the more
Yeah.
twisted side, which was cool. There was a cool balance in that, but I wanted her to take it up a notch. And after the Civilization stuff, like they're so cemented in KKB, where she's like, let me just do a side thing. But yeah, I was so happy when I saw this. I'm like, yes, this is actually real. There was a meme for years where it's like KKB and Death Grips fans are the same people, and they should collab. I know they did a Death Grips cover on one of their concerts, and that kind of like broke everybody's brain. So now it's like kind of happening for the most part.
Yeah.
But this is noise. It's heavy. It goes hard. It's a 2.5 minute song. Hell is here. I hope this EP is long and not like 3 songs like they did on Civ 2.
Oh.
I want like 5 or 6 good ones, you know.
Yeah.
But I like
It's
the
a
difference
EP.
between like her lighter, normal voice, and then like the deeper like
Yeah. She does like some like
yeah.
like that stuff.
And just knowing like the elevation of Kiriko Benito, like this is so cool. It's just this person made trampoline and now is
Yeah.
making references of this. So I guess the only other thing to compare it to would be like someone like Poppy, which I haven't gotten
Oh,
into a whole lot, but she's kind of done the same thing where she kind of did this indie thing and then did one record where it was like a straight medical or a metal like industrial record, and it was really cool.
well, some
So
of that is wasn't Poppy like a creation of like this other guy who like he does that like for a live like he did that before. Like he
I think
created
so.
someone
Yeah,
else before Poppy, and then Poppy got free of that and then kind of did her own thing after. Like
it's possible.
I don't know a whole lot. I remember like watching a video on it like a couple years ago.
Hmm.
So
But yeah,
yeah.
I hope this whole EP is kind of in the tone of like I disagree, like Poppy stuff, because that's always so cool. But yeah, I don't know if everybody's gonna dig the style. It is definitely weird.
No,
Um,
yeah. This
I
isn't what I go to when I
no,
want that KKB stuff.
yeah, this is definitely not the comfort food KKV that we're used to. Um, I think their fan base has changed drastically too, because like
Yeah,
Bonita
probably.
Generation came out and like it was this bright, sunny Japanese pop record, and then Time and Place started happening with more experimental and shoegaze stuff, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden the electron or like the abstract hip hop guys and the experimental music guys were like, "This is sick," and that's when I jumped on board. So
Yeah.
yeah, but this is really fun. Go listen to it. Short, sweet. I'm excited for the whole thing in August.
Yeah,
Uh,
August 26th.
August 26th. Um, Last thing I have this week is More Mother dropped another album. I think I knew this was happening because I listened to an interview with her and she said something was happening, but I just completely missed this record until it just dropped.
Oh.
But it's here. She said she was going to do more of a jazz-centric record, and that's what this is.
Oh.
She's kind of balancing between hip hop and jazz. She does both very well. Um, I know, I know this one's more like hip hop infused jazz, but it's still incredibly soulful, mysterious, mystical. She does a lot of spoken word on here again, a lot of spoken word poetry, which she kind of did on her earlier work, I believe. Um, but it gives a whole cool feeling to this track, and there's a lot of great interludes. Um, I love these more like free flowing experiences, especially for more like abstract artists. I know that Floating Points and Pharoah Sanders record last year was fantastic, and this is kind of in the same vein where it's just kind of put it on and chill out, and the whole thing just kind of waves through. There's some more aggression in places here and there, but like it's still very pretty, and there's got these very weird rhythms and offbeat things that are happening. It truly is freeform jazz on some tracks, so it's
That's cool.
very interesting. I need to listen to it more. I've only listened through it once, but uh, I mean, 18 songs, 43 minutes. There's a lot of like short little cuts that are cool. Um, so she's on a roll. She has not missed, especially like the past 2 years. She is just killing it. Um, but yeah, do not sleep on Warm Mother. Very good record so far. I think that's everything new I had this week. I'm still listening to this Fisherman's Live record. It's so good. Um, the long season is still one of the best things I've ever heard, but I'm trying to give the other tracks more listens so I can actually pick out what tracks are in. But it's so good. In terms of Swans, I think Leaving Meaning was the only new record I listened to this week because I've kind of just been recycling the other ones because I'm still trying to envelope all of them. I haven't nailed down a single record yet, but I keep going to different ones. But Leaving Meaning is their 2019 one. This was after the trilogy where they kind of he likes to split up the band and get new people to keep it fresh. And when you drop one of the best trilogies I've ever heard, where it's just incredibly consistent, it's like, yeah, do something different. This record is very chill, which is weird. The Glowing Man was kind of chill, but it's still in the way of like this beast of a record can just kill you at any moment. It's still a chore. It's 2 hours. Like you have to take this seriously because you're going in. This one kind of has the same kind of palette as the Glowing Man, but a lot more dimmed down. There's a lot of like really, really great slow stuff on here. It's a lot more of a comforting record than the other ones have been.
Oh.
And not like a soundtracks for the blind comforting where you get like one or two nice moments and then it's just pain. This one's more like just chilled out the whole time. There's still some like kind of chanty ritualistic tracks, but they aren't like beat you over the head with instruments type tracks, they're still kind of flowing and smooth, even though they're still off-putting. But this record is pretty good. I think it's probably my least favorite Swans record out of all the ones I've listened to so far.
Wow.
But that's not really saying much. Like the lowest rating I've given one is an 89, and that's only because I've listened to Children of God once because it scares me.
Okay.
Which is weird. Soundtracks for the Blind is one that just disturbs you to your core, and you never forget it. But then you go back farther, and you're like, this is literally an album about like a Christian cult. So,
Oh.
and it definitely sounds like that. It's like pulling you into a cult while also telling you all the horrible things they do. But then they put like really pretty tracks talking about it in here. You're just like getting guided by a siren to your death throughout this whole record. But yeah, I think Leaving Meaning is still good. I'm interested if this is the lineup he's going to keep going forward, because I think there's rumors that there's going to be another one next year. So we'll see if this is going to be a second trilogy, or if this is kind of like I feel like Leaving Meaning is a transition point. At least I hope so.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times this band can reinvent itself. I mean, they went through their grunge era, and they transformed into satanic cult rock, gothic rock. Kind of rode that wave, went into ambient, came back with like a 2.5 hour record of everything they've ever done, and then like died for 15 years.
Oh.
Like they literally released a live album called Swans Are Dead. Like, do not get your hopes up. We're done.
Oh.
But then they came back in 2010, and then that's like when there's a 2010 album, but nobody talks about it because it felt like a transitionary point into what was about to happen, which is like 3 of the most primal, drug out, marathon, long runs of like slow burning records. So I feel like Leaving Meaning could very well be a transitionary point. I hope so, because I don't know. There's just something. There's something. It's like once you get this, they are a cult. You have to get like indoctrinated, and then once you're in, it's like, oh god. I feel like I could listen to anything now at this point. Nothing will surprise me after listening to this group's catalog.
Probably not.
Like I feel like I've hit the final boss, and everything else is just a side quest now.
That's true.
But yeah, Leaving Meaning still pretty good. We'll see. I think that's everything that's happening right now. I think
Okay.
Nap's still dropping at the end of July.
I hope so.
I don't know of any other records that are coming. Actually, no. There's a Killer Mike song coming Monday, July 4th.
Oh, is he doing his own thing now?
This is just a solo track. It's funny because it's called Run, so I'm wondering if LP is just going to release the Jewels.
Oh, that would be fun.
Could be fun.
Yeah.
But it's featuring Dave Chappelle and Young Thug.
Oh, okay.
The production. So I'm interested. There's been a
Yeah.
lot of there's been a lot of pushback on Twitter, which is surprising because I feel like people would be like, "Shut up and just listen to Killer Mike."
Yeah.
But Killer Mike's been doing some weird stuff lately with like Bill Maher, and he's been having talking to like conservatives and stuff.
Really?
Yeah, I agree with Killer Mike's political philosophy for the most part. He just does some weird things. He's more of like a black capitalist guy, more than like a socialist kind of guy.
Sure. He's not a
but
Peggy.
No.
Okay.
No. And I don't know. There's just been some weird vibes coming off of him lately. No disrespect to Killer Mike. I still think he's great. These are like little nitpicky things. But
Yeah,
then you
he-
have Dave Chappelle on, and I'm not really feeling Dave Chappelle at the moment.
Right now, no. No, he needs
Young
some
Thug's
time to
facing
cool
some
off.
very serious charges right now.
Yeah.
That he's not
that's-
completely innocent of.
Yeah, I forgot. He's the one that's in the he's in jail. Is he in jail?
He's got a RICO case, so I think they're holding him.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's just a weird lineup right now. I'm sure the song will be good. Hopefully, I hope.
Probably. I don't know.
When Killer Mike
Chappelle-
makes heavy political songs, like they turn out the best. Like Reagan by Killer Mike is one of the best rap songs of the last 10 years. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean he knows how to do it. So we'll see what that is.
Of course.
there's just been some weird developments. I'm surprised people are pushing back because usually, like when it comes to people like that, if there's any problematic thing, people don't care and be like, just shut up, and listen to the music.
That's yeah. Is that like what happened with Marilyn Manson and Ondanda and stuff?
Kind of.
Or like,
It's the same thing with like Kendrick fans defending Kodak Black's placement. It's kind of a.
see,
It's
I
a.
I
It
don't
doesn't
know.
go anywhere.
I don't
It's
know
kind of
much about what Kodak Black has done or what. I don't. I'm just not into
Yeah.
Kodak Black, I guess.
not a good person. I'll
Okay.
put it that way. But yeah, I feel like in rap specifically, that doesn't usually fly. Where it's like people actually are like, wait a minute, this guy's kind of being weird. Especially like the Dave Chappelle thing. That was the biggest surprise for me.
Yeah.
People are like, people are actually questioning Dave Chappelle's usage on here. Like,
Well,
okay,
I feel
we're
like
getting-
now
getting
people,
close.
not necessarily with the trans stuff. Like I could see that flying in hip hop, especially with like what happened with
No, that's what I'm
Auntie
specifically seeing is like they
Oh,
call him a
really?
transphobe. So I'm surprised on how good that's
Okay.
getting. So I'm like,
Well,
okay,
I'm
this-
glad that's the response
yeah.
that's happening.
There's probably a lot of old heads out there that are just not speaking in the circles I'm in. So
Sure.
it's probably still kind of bad, but whatever.
Sure. Well, I don't know. That could be interesting. I don't know if Chappelle has. I don't know if he's done any. Like, I doubt he's done any rap or anything.
He's not rapping. He's just narrating. It.
Oh, is he just like doing spoken word stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Nah, I think him rapping would be weird.
It would be
It's
weird.
like, you can't stand up to Killer Mike.
No.
Most people can't. So
He
don't
did
do
didn't he do Creep at a Foo Fighters concert or something?
that. Yeah,
Yeah. Huh.
that's funny.
Yeah, I forgot about that. All right. Well, we're just getting ready to wrap up. I realized I do have one more thing to talk about. This podcast is already way longer than I thought it was going to be, but that's okay.
That never happens.
That absolutely never happens. Last week was weird because we said it was going to be a short one and then it was. This one we thought was going to be a short one and then it absolutely was not. But I to briefly talk about my project that I'm doing, the Fast and the Furious films. I did see the hit film Too Fast, Too Furious, starring Paul Walker and I believe his name is Tyrese. Is on the box it just said Paul Walker and Tyrese. He didn't even have a last name.
Wait, is this the one with the boat?
Yes, there's a boat.
Yeah,
and then
where
they
jump
do
on the boat.
yeah, they do like a Dukes of Hazard thing and
Yeah,
jump on
I
a
remember
ramp
that
onto
part.
the boat.
That part's sick.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt a little bit weird. It didn't have Ja Rule in it, and they replaced him with Ludacris, who I believe is in the rest of the films.
Yes, I like him a lot more than Ja Rule too.
I don't know anything about either of the two's music. I just love that Ja Rule scene in the first one.
Yeah,
That was like that was probably my favorite part of the movie, if I'm being honest. Even though it was so dumb and corny. And then the second one comes around and oh my god, I thought the first one was bad. Holy mackerel, this one is infinitely worse.
but it's got the boat.
That's the only good part of
I
the movie.
love the boat.
There are so many scenes. I think the budget was probably cut in half for this movie. There are so many scenes of CGI cars driving on the road. And it's like, my guy, you could have just like, I realize that it's tricky to like, like get police to like shut down a road and like just have a car go fast on it. But like, really, like you couldn't get a stunt driver to like turn a corner and just have like a car. It doesn't look good because it came out in like, I don't know, 2004? 2003, dang it. I was close. And also, this movie did not have Vin Diesel in it at all.
Let's go.
I know. I found out that apparently Fast and Furious is like an anthology show, like up until like the fifth one. That's when they bring back Vin Diesel, I think. It's four of the movies are just Paul Walker Variety Hour, and he goes around to different places. Because this one's in Miami, the first one's in LA, the third one's in Tokyo, I don't remember where the fourth one is. And then the fifth one is
I know.
obviously in Brazil. Obviously, it's in Brazil.
And then it's in like Saudi Arabia, or
Is it in Dubai? Yeah.
Yeah, it's in Dubai.
That would make sense. But I don't need to talk about this movie for very long because it is very bad. But there is one thing about it that I need to bring up, and that is Paul Walker's chemistry with Tyrese. I don't remember either of their names. I don't even remember Paul Walker's name in the show. I always call him Paul Walker. So the crux of the movie is that Paul Walker is no longer a cop. He left after the first one because he did a bad and let Vin Diesel get away. Yeah, very sad. But now the cops catch him street racing and they said, we need you to do this job. And your partner's going to be this FBI guy. And then Paul Walker's like, what engine would be better? A Gallo 16 or 24? And then the guy's like, 24. And then Paul Walker's like, I didn't know a pizza place made engines, you idiot. And then he's like, this guy can't be my partner. I get to pick the partner. And it's a guy I go way back with. We're old friends. And then they're like, okay, we can talk to this guy. And so then they go find Tyrese, and he's at like a wreck fest. I don't know what they call those. Destruction derbies?
Demolition derby.
Demolition derbies, that's what they call them. And then they're like, hey, Tyrese, it's me, Paul Walker, your old friend from when we grew up. And then they fight, and then they don't stop fighting for the rest of the movie. They're like an old married couple the entire time.
They're like wearing their Hawaiian shirts in their 5 minutes.
Yeah. Like, people are like, you can't tell me that these guys are not a couple. And I'm like, this is the most toxic relationship I've ever seen on screen. And it's in a Fast and Furious
But
movie.
it was accurate.
These guys won't stop fighting. And then in the last act, they decide that they're brothers. And then they love each other.
Yeah, I love it.
I'm like, that is the dumbest thing. Like, why would you pick this guy? You guys don't agree on anything. And you threaten him multiple times to send him back to jail. And that's the thing he's mad at you for, is that you set him up on a job because you were a cop.
That's the furious part of the movie. I just don't think you're getting the
That's
big
true.
picture.
That's true. I'm seeing the Fast. I'm not seeing the Furious.
Yeah, there's a lot of furious to go around.
That is true.
A lot of brotherly love.
There is a lot of brotherly love.
That's only going to increase as you go.
That's true. So this week I'll have to watch Tokyo Drift. We'll
That's
see
my
what
favorite.
happens. I know that's your favorite. We'll have to see how I feel about it. The person who absolutely has hated these
The Green
movies.
Mustang in Tokyo it's a classic. That car's a classic.
Okay, I couldn't tell you what kind of car these guys had. I thought, no wait, Paul Walker drives a Nissan Skyline in Too Fast, Too Furious.
Yeah, didn't he drive a Supra in the first one?
I don't remember. But I was
Yeah,
like, a
it's getting a
Nissan
watch,
Skyline?
Yeah, the Skyline.
I'm like, isn't that like a... I thought that the Skyline was like a Corolla or something. And I'm like, why
No,
is
the
this...
Skyline was their sports car. That
Oh.
they don't make it anymore. So it's like a hot item. Like any car nerd will like literally die if they see a Skyline in real life because they're incredibly rare.
Okay, I just heard
They're
Nissan.
like goated.
I heard Nissan. I'm like, so this dude's just driving like a I don't know, a
No.
sedan or something.
A Skyline is literally like a racing car that was available for civilians.
Oh.
So easy to modify.
Oh, okay, so that makes sense.
Yeah. Same with like there's a lot of Mitsubishi Eclipses in there. Same kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
Like all the cool Mazdas that existed back then. That was
yeah.
like that's a golden era for like car stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I grew up in a good era for that.
That's true. That's true. Now it's just boring
Now
electric
everything's a
cars.
spaceship.
Yeah, that's true. Except I do like that some electric cars are like, because they don't have to be like super aerodynamic, they're like making them like super weirdo, or like they're doing like vintage
Yeah, they look cool.
cars. Like that's kind of cool.
The
I
old
like-
Fords that are electric look awesome.
Yeah, that's great. Big fan of old electric cars.
Yes.
But I also would like cars like in Black Mirror. I think those
Yeah.
cars are pretty cool too. So
Yeah,
let's do
there's gonna be
those
a good
two.
balance there. It's gonna look really weird when you see people driving, but
Yeah, it is gonna be. It's gonna be the most diverse a highway has ever been.
yeah. I hope the highway's empty and we're all taking public, like fast public accessible transport, and there's just a
Well-
couple of electric vehicles on the street. But that's a topic for a
No.
different day. I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if there are no cars and everyone relies on public transportation, then like, how are we gonna make Fast and Furious movies?
That's a good point. I feel like that's the biggest argument against my position here.
That's what I'm
I
saying.
actually can't come back, so that's kind of argument debunked.
Are they gonna like ride a train really fast? Gonna ride a city bus?
It's just gonna be speed.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention one thing in music. Go listen to Denzel Curry's Tiny Desk. It is
Oh, he did a Tiny Desk?
the best Tiny Desk I've seen in a while.
Didn't Usher just do one too?
Usher just did one too. And
I've been seeing people do a funny bit.
I think the Twigs one this year was really great as well. But like the Denzel Curry has a feeling of like a classic like Tiny Desk of like the Mac Millers and the Tylers and the Anderson Packs.
Okay.
He
be down
he
for
has a
that.
10-piece band with him, so
Oh,
it's
okay.
really good.
I should listen to that.
Yes, that was the only thing I forgot, and now I'm done.
Okay. Well, next week, what are we going to talk about?
Chicken.
Chicken. I'll probably watch Tokyo Drift. I was gonna watch 2, and then I'm like, the second one absolutely broke me. I'm like, I need to.
I can't do this again.
I can't do this again. But I'll watch 3 sometime this week. I might watch 4, depending on how adventurous I am.
I literally don't remember what 4 is, so y'all have to inform me
What
about
is
that.
it? Fast 4? Is that what it's called? No, that one 4 is just Fast and Furious, of course. Okay,
It must
this
have been really bad because I've completely blocked everything about it out.
Fast
so.
and Furious. This is the one that has Vin Diesel back. It has a 28% on Rotten Tomatoes.
That's great.
Let me see. Dominic Toretto is forced to come out of hiding when a loved one is brutally murdered. Oh, okay. So this is just Death Wish.
Yeah.
Heading to LA to track down the culprit, he crosses paths with Brian O'Connor, the FBI agent whose undercover infiltration of Toretto's gang led to the motorized miscreants' exile across the border. Who wrote this? The two temporarily put their differences aside as they investigate the killing.
I
Okay.
need a bumper sticker. With it.
I'm a motorized miscreant.
That's probably better than the movie.
Probably. This is Fast 4. Oh man, Vin Diesel's. Oh, he's ripped in this. Oh frick, this is a Vin Diesel vanity project.
Yep.
Oh
It starts
no.
getting like that too. Like I think when you see The Rock on screen, like he made it so that he's not shorter than him by like a mile.
Yeah. I think there's like they hate each other. Vin Diesel
Yeah,
and The Rock have like a feud.
Vin Diesel seems like a not nice person to be around, so I'm kind of on team Dwayne
Oh,
Johnson.
I'm Team Rock all the way.
Yeah.
I do not. Vin Diesel's kind of a creep.
Yeah, that too.
And I don't throw this around very often, but he's a bitch. In his contract, he has that he can't lose a fight in any movie he's in, which again is like what we were talking about earlier, where it's just like then it's not interesting. If you can't lose, then why bother?
I
It's
wouldn't
like,
die. I wouldn't care if he died though. So I guess I wouldn't have been interested anyways.
in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, not in real life.
No.
I would go to the candlelight
No,
vigil.
there's no
of Vin
contract
Diesel.
for real life. But
Yeah,
like,
it is. I don't. Not yet. Not yet. Okay. Yeah. Sorry that this is a long podcast, but sometimes it's like that. We had a lot to say.
had a lot to say about a few things.
A few things. I'd
And
say
then multiple side tangents, but that just kind of happened.
no.
Paul's not here to hold us down.
That's right.
Especially out top.
Paul's our rock. He's gone, and I'm our Vin Diesel, because I hate Paul.
I'm our ludicrous.
Oh, okay. So you just give us cars.
Or the Asian guy that starts.
I think he's Han.
Yeah, Han.
Han. Yeah, people like him so much
cool.
that they brought him back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know anything about the man. I've never seen him. I sure hope they bring back Tyrese.
Racer. I think Tokyo Drift's got a lot of drifting in it.
Well, I would hope so. Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see next week. But until then, I'm going to go make a cake in a rice cooker.
Oh,
It'll work. Trust me.
it's a family recipe.
It's a family recipe. Passed down generations, generations. Generations of rice cookers.
Yeah, you got a lot of that in your family.
Yeah. Well, if you can't get enough of us, go watch what is going
Then
to be
what's your
coming out.
problem?
What's your problem?
Summer Songs Part 2.
Summer Songs Part 2 is coming out
And then
later
we'll be
today.
to your list, and that'll be out next week.
That'll be next week. And then we'll probably
We
do
won't
some
have a
fun
podcast
stuff.
next week, so
Yeah, yeah. Next week we will, well, yeah, next week we will have no podcast. That's kind of snuck up on me. So 2 weeks from now, the podcast will come back. I'm sure
We'll
that one
definitely
will
have
also
stuff
be
to talk
very
about.
long.
yeah.
So yeah, I switched our branding on Twitter, and I really love that you can see when the tweet came out now, because it says on July 1st at 12:01, the boy time switched. Like that's perfect.
That's pretty good.
Especially, what I said was, we at Boytime Industries are no longer using our Pride branding due to it no longer being June. We still stand with all the gays, but it is no longer in our best interest to be vocal about it.
That's pretty good. I want there to be a competition of like who's the fastest company to change off of the rainbow picture, and then who's the slowest, like who keeps
Ooh.
it the longest.
I don't
And
know.
like at that point, what point, like if it's like a Mr. Beast situation, it's like 6 months, and like there's like two companies battling out. I feel like you just change
Ooh.
your branding to forever have the rainbow in it.
I remember last year, like the Reddit app was the rainbow one for like a really long time, like halfway through July, I remember. And then it may have switched to like a red, white, and blue one, like I don't remember. But now they didn't do anything. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm looking at Bethesda because Bethesda came under fire for their Pride thing. And to be honest, the Bethesda Pride thing is god awful. It looks like that the EU flag that
yeah,
was a
the-
draft.
It's
where
the same as the Xbox One, where they just like put every flag
It's-
and made it like a super space move.
Yeah, so you can't even tell what it is, but it's
Yeah.
every single pride
They
flag.
shoved so much in there. They even put the
Yeah.
progress flag in there, just like trying to what put it in.
Yeah. So we were the fastest,
Okay, well Bethesda's still gay, so
and
they're in the race.
Xbox is still gay.
Okay, well they're the same. They probably have the same social media
Well,
manager.
Yeah, that probably
or
is
same
true.
department. So
Let me see if Baskin Robbins is still
yeah,
gay.
see Baskin Robbins.
Baskin
I wanna
Robbins
check
is no
Steakums.
longer gay. Dunkin'
Steakums
is no
no
longer.
longer gay.
Wendy's is no longer gay. This is really good
Oh.
podcast content of us just
Yeah,
looking at
we're still
Twitter.
rolling. Send us if you see any Twitters with still a gay
Ooh,
profile picture.
that's
I
a-
just
that's
want
a
to
good
see
one.
who keeps it on the longest.
Yeah. I love I love the call to actions. So if you ever see any gay, this sounds like we're doing a witch hunt, but we're not doing that. We're doing the opposite. We want to see
Oh.
which one has it the longest.
I want to see the most woke company, or a company that doesn't check their social media for a long time.
Was Norm of the North still gay? Oh no,
Ooh.
I doubt they did anything. Norm just said Norm
What about the Nerf mascot?
Oh, the Nerf mascot. I don't know. I saw that that the Nerf mascot uses they them pronouns.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. I'm like, okay.
Which makes sense because it's a
'Cause it's a-
Nerf dark being.
Yeah, Murph from Nerf. That's his name.
I
Or
love
their
Murph.
name.
I love Murph.
Murph.
Misgendered a
I did not mean to
pile of
misgender
darts.
a company product. Sorry. I'll be sure to call the McDonald's Happy Meal they them also. Murph's
Murph.
picture is just a selfie, a mirror selfie that they took.
There's so many darts.
Yeah, it's not a very good mascot. If I'm being
I actually
honest,
like it. It's just
okay.
like weird.
I think I like it too, but I think when it comes to mascots, you want it to be instantly recognizable.
It is.
Well, if you see it like
There's a lot of nerf darts.
if you see it like straight on, like yeah, like you can obviously tell that that's like a bunch of Nerf things. But if you see it from a distance, it looks just like a big blob of color. Um,
It reminds me of the 90s, so I love it. It's like
I
a
I do.
mascot that makes no sense, but like also makes sense. It's like they're not taking it seriously and trying to like brand off of it. It's just like
I
it's just like a Nerf bundle.
I should emphasize that I absolutely hate when companies do like the plastic minimal stuff that is very popular right now. So I am in favor of this, but it isn't a good move. Like if I'm being honest,
I
even though
think
I
it's a
like
great
it.
move. I
Okay,
think it's really good.
okay.
I
Well,
think I think it's instantly recognizable because Twitter had like a whole thing about it for a while because
they
everybody's
did.
like, "Look at this giant blob dirt Nerf dart guy! Like
That
this
is
is really
true.
cool." Um, I think doing something unexpected and not by the book there is good. I feel like that probably took corporate years to sign off on, knowing how these clients work. Uh, they say they want fun stuff and they'll like come back and not choose the fun things that you offer.
Yeah,
Um, so I think the Nerf guy getting through is really
that is
uh,
true. That's true.
that's really cool. I like
I
it.
like it. I like it. Um, yeah. So enough about the Nerf man. Let's go.
How did we get to that?
We are talking about Twitter being
We are
gay.
really lost when Paul is
Pa-
not here.
Paul needs, yeah, he needs to come on more often. AKA,
He's
he
our rock.
is. He is
He's our
on.
support person.
Yeah. So, okay, bye.